All right, hi. So today's guest is Professor Giles, and if you're looking for him in the professor directory and class search, he will be listed as Charles Giles. But he's been in the business world, specifically in advertising, even being his own business owner, and he's been teaching since 2010. And fun fact, he was named Arizona's SBA Person of the Year and even had the chance to meet President Barack Obama in Washington. So tune in to hear more about his career and what he teaches today. Today's message is sponsored by Fork Fund. Fork Fund is a student-built financial collaboration app that makes living with roommates easier. We help friends avoid stress by simplifying shared expenses and creating transparency around who owes what. Our clean, intuitive design makes it easy to log purchases, split bills, and stay organized without those awkward conversations. We're not just a money management tool, we're building a community of students who want an easier, healthier financial relationships with the people they live and spend with. Their mission is to modernize how students handle shared expenses by giving them a simple, reliable system that promotes clarity, accountability, and better communication. Fork Fund helps college students and young adults feel more confident with their finances and more connected in their shared living spaces with one tap at a time. And don't forget to follow Fork Fund on Instagram to stay updated on their new features and their launch. Thank you. All right, thank you so much for being here today. We're going to go ahead and get started with the questions. So first, just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be a professor at ASU.
All right. How far do you want me to go back?
As far as you want
to.
Dawn
of time? Okay.
Yeah.
I grew up in Tucson, Arizona, and then went to school up here at ASU, which was a phenomenal experience for me. After I graduated from ASU, I moved to California, where I lived for 2 years. And in those 2 years, I started to work for advertising agencies. And I loved the agency business. But it didn't love me back because the pay was really bad. So I quickly figured that out, left, came back to Arizona, worked in a company called Sky Mall, which was an in-flight catalog company back before the dawn of the internet. Then I ran a national marketing for a large computer distributor. And it was at that point that I got introduced to e-commerce. So now we're almost to the year 2000 and figured out that, wait, this e-commerce thing is kind of fascinating. They decided, strangely enough, to not bet on. So they built this whole e-commerce platform, and then they decided, we don't think the internet's going anywhere. That's how long ago this was. So a business partner and I decided we're going to set out and start an agency, and so that's what we did. We left there because we had all that e-commerce background, and we started an agency in 1999, which I ran until the end of 2022. And somewhere in the middle of that, I got introduced to the opportunity to actually teach at ASU. That was actually in 2010. So I've been teaching at ASU ever since 2010, and have loved that experience immensely. I started the first digital marketing class that ever was taught here, and actually they gave me about 2 weeks notice to start the class. Yeah, the class was, I got called in and they're like, we want you to teach the class. And I'm like, okay, when does it start? And they were like, it starts in January, and this was in mid-December. And so I was about 1 week ahead of the students at that point in time. But I've learned, I've adapted, and now teach way more than just that class at ASU, but that's how I got here.
Perfect. Yeah, I guess kind of on the topic of classes, what are kind of the classes that you teach currently or next semester as well too?
So what I teach is a class called Creating Digital Experiences, which is mainly a user interface, user experience, usability type of a class. We build digital products, so do some vibe coding in there using a platform that allows students to actually build out a prototype based on a problem that they're trying to solve. It also focuses heavily on user experience and how to improve user experience using human-centered design. So I focus in that. Then I teach creating digital experiences. I teach digital media marketing, which is just the catch-all for all digital media. So anyone that wants to learn about paid search or wants to learn about programmatic advertising or email, all those kinds of things fall into that class. I teach an innovations in marketing class, so this is really the forward, where marketing is leaning into. So we focus in AI, we focus in blockchain, we focus in Internet of Things, we focus in augmented reality, machine learning, all those areas that we're kind of moving toward. And then starting next semester, starting 2 new classes. One of them is called AI Forward Marketing, which is very much focused within the AI space and how AI is integrated into marketing from a behind-the-scenes approach. So how marketing organizations use it to improve themselves, and then how they use it to attract customers. Businesses do. And then I'm also focused on one called, what is it called? Communicating your ideas with bots and bosses. Oh. So it's how to talk to AI so that you get the output that you actually want, and then how to pitch your ideas to your bosses so that you also get what you want, so that they believe what you have to say and feel like you have you've done your research and they want to engage in whatever you're recommending to them.
Totally. Well, that one sounds very interesting.
It's going to be a good class.
I wish I had more time at ASU to take it, but
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So what inspired you to go into your field of study?
What inspired me to go into marketing? So it's so funny. When I was little, I thought that marketing was kind of cool. I mean, I would always look at my mom was like, you're looking at copyrights and all kinds of weird things on boxes and stuff, but I did. And when I got into high school, I had this, I don't even know what the assignment was, but it was in English. I remember that specifically. I had an amazing English teacher, and she gave us some assignment, and I went home, and this was clearly not the assignment, but back then we had encyclopedia sets, and they were paper, they were books. And I took all the encyclopedias out of the rack that my parents had paid for over years, and cut out a bunch of pictures out of them and made this huge brochure that was like a 20-page long brochure that was promoting whatever it was that I wanted it to promote. And I submitted that as my assignment. I got a great grade on it, but it definitely was not the assignment, but it made me realize, like, I love this idea of doing stuff like that, trying to figure out, like, what's the problem we're trying to solve, what products could we introduce to actually solve that problem, how do we promote that product once we bring it to market, how do we create a go-to-market strategy, all that kind of stuff was really, really interesting to me. So when I came to ASU, which had a good marketing department back then, I started a business actually while I was going to school here, and that, led me to more of an entrepreneurship path as well. But for those 2 years, 2 years of my 4 years at ASU, I focused on that as well. So it was like, I think I got into marketing because marketing was something that was ingrained in me kind of early on, and I like focusing on problems that are out there in the world and how do you best solve that problem for people, and that's what marketing is all about. Yeah, absolutely. Well said. So I guess kind of switching from the academics and studies and all that we're talking about, but outside of all that, what are some of your hobbies or interests? What are my hobbies and interests? Okay, well, I like to run. Running has an interesting story to it. I like to run because I also like to eat chocolate chip cookies. Yes. Like, a lot. I love to eat chocolate chip cookies. And you can't eat a lot of chocolate chip cookies, as you probably know. It's not very good for you. So as a result, I run. And I'm one of like 4 people in the entire world that actually likes running on a treadmill. So I run on treadmills a lot because I have bad allergies. So when the weather's not so great, I like to run just sitting on a treadmill. I'll watch British crime dramas and weird stuff like that while I'm actually running. So I love to run. Then my other hobby, I had to think about hobbies here, but one hobby that I have, my wife has these elaborate home project ideas that she wants to tackle. And so I feel like my hobby is reining them in to something that we can actually do, So she might come up with this crazy idea that's a $100,000 idea or something that clearly doesn't have there's no way, this is not rooted in logic. But I want to make sure it's a great idea, so I want to bring it to life, but try to figure out a different way to bring it to life. Yeah. So I spend a lot of time working with her to try to figure that out. And I really I didn't know that I would enjoy home improvement projects, but I really do quite enjoy them. And so we watch those type of shows together and everything. Just like, that kitchen looks really cool, and then we'll try to figure out how to do it, but not for $50,000 for $5,000 or $10,000. Yeah. So those are some hobbies that I guess I have. I'm not maybe a huge hobby guy. I don't collect things or anything like that. Yeah. Are the chocolate chips cookies homemade or store-bought? Oh, good question. Well, I like pretty much almost any chocolate chip cookie, but chocolate chip cookies certainly should be homemade. And, I was gonna say. Yeah, and my wife makes amazing chocolate chip cookies with caramel in them.
Ooh.
And I like a crunchy on the outside, soft in the middle type of a cookie, but it has to be cooked through. I don't like raw flour stuff in there. So she makes them absolutely perfectly. And this is kind of embarrassing, but we do travel a lot. So I guess kind of a hobby is traveling. We like to travel. And she's all in on this. She loves to do this. She'll be out hunting for, like, wherever we're going. If we're on a road trip, as we pass through these small towns, where can you get the best chocolate chip cookies? Wow. And then we'll literally stop in those places, and we'll try to make sure we plan our time. So if they close at 5 o'clock, that we're able to get to this place by 3:30 or so. We found amazing chocolate chip cookies in Chico, California. We found amazing chocolate chip cookies in Big Sky, Montana. There's a few places that are just like, they were off the charts.
Maybe you should start a blog about your reviews.
My wife told me that I should start a blog on chocolate chip cookies, traveling to all the best chocolate chip cookie places. Yeah, in my spare time.
I think that's your new hobby.
There you go. I'll get to that.
Go. Awesome. So I guess talking more about what is your teaching philosophy and how would you describe your teaching style?
Teaching philosophy, I definitely believe, you can kind of tell by the types of classes, I believe in kind of a rip from the headlines sort of approach. So I definitely like thinking about where marketing is going. Now, I definitely like to apply fundamentals. So the classes always start with, here's the basics of what marketing is all about. And once I have the basics established, then it's like, okay, now let's look about what's going on in the world and how marketing applies to that and where the world is headed and how we make sure that students are well positioned for whatever that marketing world or the general world is going to look like in the future. So I think a lot of time is spent around changing course curriculum every single semester, particularly with the types of classes I have. So I tend to change 20 to 50% of all the materials every single semester so that they're constantly updated, and try to bring in new things, bring in new news and headlines, and we'll talk about some of those things. I like an interactive class. Now sometimes that's hard, when you have 40 or 50 students in there. Some students like to talk and some students don't like to talk as much. So I'm an introvert, so trying to figure out how do I get introverts more engaged in conversation, so that I don't have just like 4 people talking back and forth and everyone else not paying much attention. But that's kind of the style. I think it's kind of, hopefully most people would hopefully say it's reasonably laid back. Try to let everyone have a chance to talk about something. I don't like, I like having people divergent thoughts and then kind of bringing them into something that means something, as opposed to like shutting people down. So I'm much more interested in like, let's get the conversation out there, and you don't have to worry about it being quote unquote right or not. And I think if you start that way, then sometimes really good things follow. If you start to shut people down right away, then they're just not going to talk ever again. So why do that? So I try to not do that as much as I can. For sure.
What assignments can students expect to tackle in your courses?
So I probably do assign quite a few assignments. So just to be honest with someone, for anyone who's watching this, one thing I like to do is I like to have assignments for people who actually show up in class. So I have participation assignments, and almost always, as long as you are there, you're going to be able to figure out how to get full credit for all those assignments. So I'll present a problem, and then we'll have a discussion about it, and during that discussion you can change your answer so that you can you have the quote unquote the right answer, so to speak, if you felt like your answer wasn't the most appropriate once we had a conversation about it. So I have a decent amount of class, usually 15 to 20% of class assignments, or the whole total grade is that something to do with participation, but it's not simply show up, I'm going to do a hash mark every time you don't show up sort of a thing, and then you get a grade from that. It's not that. I do lean into group projects. I do ask students to talk about how much each person has contributed and what they've contributed, so I can try to keep that kind of manageable. I know there are good groups and there are not so good groups, and that is just kind of the fact of life as well as we get into the business world. But I do like group projects because it does create an environment where you get to see different perspectives and you get to work with different sorts of people, and some people are really easy and it's an amazing group and you get to see that in action, and then you get to compare it to sometimes when it's not such a great group and it's harder to deal with the people that are in that particular group because the personalities might not mesh. And then I usually have at least usually one exam. I'm not a huge fan of exams, but I do think that you need to assess in some way, shape, or form. So there's usually like one exam that's toward the end. My exams are extended response, which some students like and some students don't. But if you think about it, I can give partial credit when it's extended response. So if you got the majority of the idea right, but you don't have it like perfectly right, I can give you a lot of credit. Whereas if I ask you a multiple choice question and you happen to pick that, you narrowed it down to 2, but then you happen to pick that wrong one, then you get no credit.
Right.
So I tend to not use a lot of multiple choice tests, but so my class will look like that. It's mainly, and then we have in-class assignments where people get to, like we did one for an email lab where I gave everybody an email actually from my inbox, like a commercial email. So it might have been from certain brands, like let's just say Best Buy or something. And so then I would give this group that email and I'd say, okay, you're going to present to the class why this email is great for, in terms of mailing this out. And then groups in the class get to tell you why it's not so great. And then we're going to keep track of all that kind of stuff. And then that's how you're ultimately going to get your grade. And it tends to be fun because it's interactive and you get to learn about what works in an email campaign and what doesn't work so well in an email campaign.
Mm-hmm. And it's a real kind of concept too. I mean, we're getting thousands of emails every day. So. And
they're real emails because I let students also ask me questions beforehand, like, okay, why are you getting this email? I'm like, well, I'm getting this email because I bought something for my wife on that site or something that. So at least they have some context as to why this would be coming to me before they're assessing whether or not it's a good email or a not so good email.
Totally. Well, awesome. Thank you for sharing. So how can students get the most out of your class? And what should they expect to walk away learning or knowing after?
To get the most out of one of my classes, I would say participate. I mean, if you like to participate in a class, and that doesn't mean like you're talking all the time. It means that you're actively involved, that you're kind of sitting a little bit forward, not that you're just like kind of in the back row, just kick back and, looking at TikToks or something. So if you're focused on the class, then that's going to do you really well. And if you show up, if you're a student that shows up pretty regularly, you should do pretty well because you're going to get a lot of participation points, number one. But then on top of it, you're going to know what's going on when it comes time to do the assignments and such. So I would say that's the type of, I don't need a class where everyone's talking, but I do need a class where people are generally attuned. And oftentimes, like this class this semester, my largest class this semester, it was an amazing class. Students were super engaged, super involved. It was a fun class. They showed up. They came on time, which is another thing that's really nice if people actually come on time. I know there was a second part to that question. What was the second part?
Yeah, the second part was what should students expect to walk away learning or knowing?
Yeah, so I gave an example of kind of like I have an email lab. I have a lab on discovery. So now that we're into an AI world, how do people go about discovering brands, and what does it look like if someone's on ChatGPT versus if someone's on Google, or if someone's discovering through social media, like all those different outlets when someone's looking for something. How do we use word of mouth to encourage buying behavior up at the top of the funnel? So I talk through the funnel and how the funnel works. I talk through why the funnel is important and, to drive people from top of funnel down to actually purchase, and then ultimately, and the best of all worlds, to talk about your brand and to do it online. So we talk through that. The group projects are pretty like real lifey type group projects. So I have usually a brand involved, not in every class, but oftentimes there's a brand involved. So we're going through real data. You're taking that real data and trying to uncover insights from it, and then from those insights build out recommendations, prove all those things with rationale statements, or potentially maybe if it's like the UI UX class, so the creating digital experiences class, it would be trying to look at a website, figure out what's good about the website based on best practices, what's maybe not so good about the website, how the website can be improved, recommendations you would give to improve or to test different variations of the website to make it better. So, as best as possible, the goal is to have something that is legitimate, that's real. That could be something where 6 months down the road, you're like, oh my goodness, that was in class. I actually am doing that now. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely some tangible skills,
yes.
Hard skills, soft skills.
I also do certification. So I like the idea of a kind of a stack credential. So you get your diploma, but then you also have a certification from Google and a certification from the trade desk for programmatic buying, and you have a certification from maybe HubSpot or something like that. So ultimately, when you're out in the market, you look a little bit differentiated because you have multiple. You have the diploma plus multiple other certifications that kind of show A, B, C, and D.
Mm-hmm.
So
For
we
sure.
do that.
Helps you be a little more niche and specific there.
And it'd stand out. I mean, if every little thing you can do to kind of stand out when we're in a world of most of the resumes are getting put online into some sort of AI system that's kind of rooting through them. So if you can't show that you have experience from actually going and doing the work somewhere, if you can show you have the experience because you have a certification, then maybe that'll work.
Mm-hmm. And are those certifications, are they just recommended or are they required?
Oh no, they're required.
Okay.
All my that's not true. Most of my courses have required certifications. Okay. The innovations one does not have a required certification.
Well, I think that's a great kind of asset for students, so I like that. You include that in your class, your course curriculum.
Yeah.
I guess kind of wrapping up here, what is the most rewarding part about being a WP Carey professor?
Well, this is probably a loaded question or a loaded answer. I mean, I love working with students. I mean, I would not be here if I didn't love working with students. My grandma, when she was older or whatever, she said to me, and I never will forget this. She said to me, like, you got to surround yourself with young people. It keeps you young. And I mean, I think at the time she was late 80s and she was surrounding herself with 70-year-olds, so I don't think she meant quite of what's happened in my life, because it's just kind of randomly happened in my life. But the idea of surrounding yourself by a generation or two that are kind of younger than you get to really learn from them. And it's something that I think a lot is missed on a lot of students, is like how much you actually teach the other way around. Now that's obviously not the reason that I'm here. The reason that I'm here is because I do feel like I have relevant skills and relevant knowledge to be able to impart. And beyond skills and knowledge, like just those soft skills, how we all should work together kind of as humans, and how we can use technology to improve the way that we all work together. But at the end of the day, it's still human connection. It's still human-centered. I mean, my whole philosophy is around human-centered design. So how do we build to improve the lives of one another? Like, how do we solve problems that really have an impact? And ultimately, that's where we want to be. And I think marketing often gets lumped into, it's about promotion. All we're doing is making things look pretty, or getting things out on the TV, or getting things on the internet or something, getting these ads out. And I mean, certainly we do that, but there's way more to it that happens way before that, trying to figure out the go-to-market strategy and who are the people that really need this service, and how do we best get that out to them in a meaningful way? How do we price it so that they can afford it? ... All that stuff is also in marketing, and we just forget it all the time.
Yeah.
I don't, but I mean, it seems like it's forgotten all the time, and everybody just thinks it's advertising.
Totally. Yeah. Awesome. I guess, do you want to kind of talk about maybe your advising of AdWorks or other organizations?
Sure. I actually advise. I love to be a faculty advisor, and I have faculty advice for two WP Carey groups. First of which is AdWorks, and AdWorks is the student-run ad agency on campus. I've been with that group since it started. So it was started by a student. Her name was Ashley, quite a long time ago, and the idea was just that there was really no way to get this practical, hands-on knowledge. And it's evolved over time, but at its root, the essence of it is students get to work together and collaborate on real client projects and try to solve real needs real problems that these clients have, or that these brands have, and then present back to them how they might best solve this problem. And oftentimes what you see is the brands just are blown away. They're like, oh my gosh, this is like remarkable. We wouldn't have thought of it from this perspective. And particularly if you have brands that are looking to get into a market that's similar to the age group that university students are. But even not that, when we worked with Southwest Gas for a while, and that's certainly not the target is not students. And they did an amazing job on that. So any student that's looking to get into anything on the downstream part of marketing, the promotional side of marketing, it doesn't just have to be advertising. Clearly, it's really a great opportunity to work on these brands, and to do so and figure out how to work together on your own and not have it in a set, there's going to be a grade associated with this or anything like that. You're doing it because you genuinely want to do it. Then I'm also a faculty advisor for a product management club. We forget that marketing has product right in the middle of it. And so Product Management Club is responsible. It's all about like how the P&L and the management of a product from start to finish. So how do I determine that there's a need in the space? How do I solve for that need in the space? What's the go-to-market strategies that are actually going to bring this thing to life? So product marketing, product management, all kind of fit within that domain. They have partners that they work with. Amazon was one this semester they worked with. They did a whole build out a product in the afternoon sort of a thing and present it to Amazon executives and get feedback on it. And so they can be tech projects, they could be consumer packaged goods. I will say Product Management Club tends more toward tech products than it does toward CPG or consumer packaged goods. But it's a really fun group, and that group has people in WP Carey and people in the engineering school as well.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
fun little crossover.
It's a good crossover.
Yeah. I guess, is there anything else that you didn't get to share about that you wanted to, or anything else to note?
I don't think so. I love being here. If anyone wants to ever reach out to learn more about the classes I teach, or just in general to understand certain aspects of marketing, I'm always happy to talk. I end up talking to quite a few students who are they're not in marketing at all. We're trying to figure out how to, we've had this idea and we're trying to figure out if this idea is a good one and who should the target be and all that kind of stuff. And so I love doing that. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I can personally attest to that. I mean, there's been so many times where I've kind of needed to pick your brain just about marketing careers and AdWorks things and just everything like that. And you're always very willing to, help students out. So we appreciate that. Alrighty, so now we're going to go into some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I'm looking forward to
Awesome.
it, yes.
Okay, so coffee or tea?
Tea.
Okay. Window or aisle seat?
Aisle.
Okay. Musical theater or concert?
Concert.
Friends or Seinfeld?
Oh, really? Those are all in my era, too. You're doing this to me? Oh, Seinfeld.
Okay. Pepsi or Coke?
Coke.
Hot dog or hamburger?
I don't eat meat.
Okay.
So we'll go with Impossible Burger. Let's go with a veggie burger.
Perfect. We'll add that one in there for next time. Ice cream in a cup or a cone?
Oh, this is going to be horrible. A cup. My wife would get me if she knew I was lying if she saw this. It's a cup.
Oh.
It's a boring cup.
Talk or listen?
Listen.
History or science?
Science.
Podcasts or books?
Books.
Save or spend?
Save.
Sweet or savory?
Sweet.
Nice. Phone call or text?
Text.
And then skinny or waffle fries?
Skinny.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. We really appreciate your time and sharing your wisdom to potential prospective students and all of W. Carey. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Pleasure being here.
Awesome.